Hey guys, Max Rich here, and today I want to do a real quick short lesson on a technique that a lot of players I see sort of in the beginner intermediate stage getting wrong. And basically what that is they hop from string to string using the same finger, you know? So if I'm playing in my pentatonic box, right, my A minor pentatonic box, a lot of players will do something like this. They'll jump like that, like if they're changing strings, you know, if they play a lick and they'll go, and from the C to the G they actually lift up their finger, put it back down, and then jump. This is a big problem for a lot of players because it's a hurdle that if you build into your playing, it's very hard to get over later on down the line. So like the point of this lesson is to like, don't build this into your playing. And if you have it built into your playing, you have to unbuild it. Don't ignore it because it will bite you really hard at some point, and it will like sort of cap your ability to improve. And the reason is because, you know, if you're playing blues or rock or country or, you know, like any of the popular genres of guitar music, you're gonna at some point need to play fast. Even if it's a quick little small flurry, you're gonna at some point need to do something quick. You're going to have to move fast on the guitar. And a lot of times the fastest way to move or the fastest way to play a phrase is playing adjacent strings. You know, like you might play something like, I don't know. Something like that. And basically what you saw me doing is I was instead of jumping strings, I was doing something called a finger roll. Well, I call it that. I don't know what other people might call it, but I call it a finger roll. And essentially what you're doing is, so if I'm going to play a C on the 5th fret, and then I'm going to move immediately to a G on the 5th fret, right? So G string and then D string. If I want to switch between these two notes, instead of hopping like this, like lifting off my finger, moving and putting it back down on the D string, I actually kind of do like a miniature bar. And I kind of roll my finger from the pad of my finger, which right now is pushing on the G string, and the tip of my finger is touching the D string, but it's not really like fretting all the way. It's not a full complete bar. Like if I hit the D string, it's dead. And it's dead because my fingertip is hitting it. The G string isn't, but the D string is. And so I play the C, and then when I go to move to the G, I essentially just break my knuckle from a flat knuckle to a bent knuckle, right? So if I'm doing this, and so you can see it from like a side angle, right? What I'm doing is I'm going from here, like that. So you can see that the ability to break and flatten that knuckle is really hugely important. And it's something you got to be able to do in every finger because you never know when you're going to need it, right? Including your pinky. So being able to do this, like this is actually, believe it or not, I know it sounds weird, but like doing this is a really good exercise for this technique, right? If you can do this and flatten your knuckle and then break it and flatten it and break it, flatten it and break it at will, right, then essentially all you have to do is do that on the guitar. Right? And so a good exercise to do that is to run through your pentatonic scale playing them in fourths. And fourths are the same fret on adjacent strings. So for example, instead of playing your pentatonic scale like the normal way, right, we're going to play I'm sorry. And there's a couple spots in here where you're not playing exactly on the same fret, and that's you just deal with that. You know, like there are two moves in this exercise that don't align with this finger roll, but that's okay, that's not the end of the world. But basically, start your pinky by barring your pinky, right? So if you can see, my pinky's barred there, right? So when I play the high E string, I'm underneath that bar. I'll try to get my other fingers out of the way. Don't keep your fingers behind the fretboard. That's not what you want to do. I'm just doing this for an example. And then when I go to play the next note, I break my finger. And then I do that with my index finger. And then I do that down the line. Now the next move, when you start with your pinky on the B string, the next string is on a different fret. So you just play pinky and then ring finger. There's no finger break there. There's no finger roll. But then when you do your index finger, there is. Right? The index finger, because of the angle that it usually sits, it probably shouldn't be like this. It should be at some type of an angle. The finger break will be less extreme than it will in the other fingers. You'll notice like your finger goes from really flat to really bent. In the index finger, it'll only move a little bit. But it still needs to have that same general motion. So, and then when you do your ring finger, G string to D string, and then same strings but index finger again, and then ring finger, index finger, and then this is another one of those where you go ring to pinky. There's no finger break there either. And then finally you finish with an index finger break, right? Right? And the advantage of doing this, like I said, is that you can really, really quickly play notes back to back. Right? In order to get that, like a lick like that where I'm playing A, D, A, C, and I want individual notes. I don't want this, where the A and the D are ringing together. You know, a lot of players, when they have to do this too fast and they don't have this finger roll technique, they'll just like bar their finger across both of those strings and do that. And then you get this blurry, muddy kind of thing where the two notes are bleeding into each other. And that's not what you want. You want like that. That's how you get a clear melody, right? Right, so that's a good lick to practice. Where I start on the A with a bent finger, and then I bar it, I flatten it, and then I go back to a bent finger. And then at some point I go to the C. And then you can do it on the next string if you want. And then you can jump to this A and do it there. Something like right, so this little technique, it seems small and it might seem insignificant, but it's totally not. Like so much of the stuff that you're going to encounter in blues playing, like for example, something like this. Right, something like that. That uses this example completely. There's no way of doing this otherwise, right? Where I'm playing, so I'm playing like over an A major, like an A7 chord. My A major chord, the upper portion looks like this. And so I'm taking my ring finger, which is on the A note of the D string, and then I play a double stop on strings 3 and 2. And then go back to that note. Right? Right, that's kind of like You know, it's like a similar idea to like Texas Flood. Except he doesn't do the finger roll, right? But that's this concept of like this plus this is really common in the blues, especially when you come off of the root note, which would be underneath your ring finger on the D string. So essentially, you need to be able to have this move in your bag, which is just a double stop version of the thing I just showed you, where you go A, D, A. This time you're going A, D, and F sharp together, right? So if you're playing a blues, right? I'm doing that move. Right? That is the idea. So you're going to encounter this constantly, or you'll encounter a circumstance that calls for it, and if you don't have it, you're going to have to like make some other way up to play it, and it won't be as smooth, it won't be as quick, it won't be as immediate. So first things first, learn how to break that knuckle and flatten it and break it, right? That's so like do it with your thumb like that, right? And you got to kind of like push down with your finger, and then just, you don't even need to do much, you just got to relax and it'll break. It'll like come right back up. So push down and then relax. Push down and then relax. And get in the habit of being able to do that at will. And then switch it to guitar, playing just one note or one finger at a time. You know, and then move to the both sides of the pentatonic box. Right? And then practice that one lick. And then you can practice that blues lick. Right? And there's a million different other examples you can come up with, but my main idea is to tell you, like, don't ignore this, right? Just don't glance over it. You'll regret it at some point in your playing later on down the line, not learning how to do this. Stop jumping strings. If you're going from one finger, or if you're staying with one finger, going from one string to the next on the same fret, find a way to make that as economically efficient as possible on the guitar. Lifting up, moving, and then putting it back down, doing this big like box shape movement, it's not efficient. It's going to slow you down, and you're going to probably miss more often than not. So avoid that at all costs. And like always, if you have questions or if you have comments or something, please send me a DM, send me an email at max@maxrichmusic.com. I'm happy to answer any questions. Send me a video of you doing it. If you don't know if you're doing it right, send me a video and I'll kind of walk you through it and help you out. Likewise, please take a visit over at maxrichmusic.com. Sign up for the weekly newsletter where videos and tips like this come out free for all my subscribers weekly. And thanks for listening. And I hope you get that finger roll happening sooner rather than later.